Let's see. Are we live? Is it doing it? It looks like it. I'm refreshing all the tabs and the other monitor, making sure. Uh-oh. It's that redhead kid again. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to hang out. Look, you know me. I do my darndest to try to, hey, make sure this is casual and cool and chill. And restream for folks and nerds and geeks that do this like live stream thing. Restream is that multi-streaming platform to be able to go out on different other social media platforms like YouTube, like Twitch, like LinkedIn and X, Twitter. And they offer now this like little music section that is all AI generated. So please, please, please say the word if, for one thing, the music is gosh darn annoying or just straight up bad. But hey, let's get everybody to show their faces. We can bring up chat for a little bit. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to hang out. Look, we have quite a show for you today. And it's been a little bit. I would like to take a couple moments to just sort of banter, hang out, and spend some time together because I love to see you. And thank you for all your support. I was thinking, over in the United States, I know a lot of folks might be international, but over in the United States, we have Thanksgiving, holiday in November. All about that gratitude, all about appreciation. And it did make me think a little bit about, hey, the channel, the YouTube venture, activity, labor of love, keyword labor. Well, more so, I don't know. We've been doing some different things, moving and shaking, maybe a little bit of good, bad, and ugly. But I am grateful and genuinely appreciative. And thank you for your support. With that, really cool, exciting stuff that we're trying to spin up and get cruising. The music is killing me. I'm sorry. I gotta. Can we switch to lo-fi? How does this sound? All right. That's not awful. That's a little bit more relaxing and hang out. Good. Well, hey, huge thanks for everyone on LinkedIn. Huge thanks for everyone on Twitter, on YouTube, of course, the main stage, the home base, HQ, and Twitch. I desperately need to spend a little bit more time on Twitch. That is a goal of mine come 2025. But I say that all the time. I feel like that's a recurring yearly thing of like, oh, let me get back into live streaming. And everyone's getting back in. But I try for maybe the first couple weeks, maybe a week, maybe less than that. And then I fall off. So we're giving it another old college try, and we'll take another crack at it come January 1. But I had attended TwitchCon some time ago, and that was incredible. It was just so cool. I was spending a lot of time with the Primogen, Theo, caught up with him for one of the after party events that we did, and low level learning. Now low level, rebranded. My good friend Ed, him and I go way back. But just so cool to be with other creators that I don't normally, that are not in the classic strict and structure infosec or cybersecurity scene, but a little bit more software development, a little bit more fun, riffraff, games, entertainment here and there too. So that is something that I'd like to slowly make my way into just as well. But time will tell. This is all just talk, and I know it. With that said, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm just super happy to be hanging out with you all a little bit one more time. But I did mention we have quite a show. Now, some of you might remember last month, I got together with Mishal Khan. Mishal is an incredible OSINT or open source intelligence practitioner, kind of a security guru in that. I don't want to say guru, good expert, professional in that effort, but he's a wizard without a doubt. He can do some incredible things to track down information, all using open source resources. And he had put together, if I may say, an incredible course for what is our budding venture. An extra small thing that I'm trying to keep cruising and cooking on the side, and I'm just grateful for your support. Let me see if I can share the screen here because I would like to bring it up. Just Hacking Trading. JHT. This is a again, old college try, our crack, and hey, maybe our attempt to get a training platform up and running, and really embracing what I honestly hope for is a lot of name your price training stuff that's freely accessible and kind of what a pay what you want or pay what you can style and structure. I'm a huge fan of Black Hills Information Security. A lot of folks know that I adore John Strand, a lot of his work, and I just love that model. With that said, I am trying to get together, collaborate with a whole lot of other incredible people. Rock stars and all stars is kind of, I think, the word that we have really fallen in for affection, terms of endearment. But we've got some archives from recent Capture the Flag competitions that we've hosted, whether it's NomCon, and soon eventually we'll get other, I don't know, old school VersetCon, maybe HacktivityCon, maybe a little bit of the Hunter CTF for my day job could bleed in here and there. And Sneak is another that we've had some cool contracts and collaborations with them. Would love to be able to get some of those challenges available there for you in an always on, always accessible, on-demand structure and style. Same thing with hackalongs. We wanted to have something that has a video walkthrough alongside it. So those might take the form of like a YouTube video that I tend to showcase, a demo, little, I don't know, song and dance and dog and pony show that I would do. But collaborating with other folks to help kind of keep that cruising, because it's not just me anymore. I don't know if it could be. I feel like, hey, we've got some really great momentum and really great movement. So I need a little bit of help here and there. And I hope we all kind of, I don't know, maybe get to that. Is it a maturity point? Is it a growth stage? It's a good thing one way or another. Upskill challenges just as well. Hey, maybe some shorter bite-size exercises to, hey, get hands on keyboard and walk through some activities and learn something new. So there are tons of incredible stuff on that front between Katie Paxton Fear, her Insider PhD, Joe Helly. Katie put out some API hacking and GraphQL stuff. Joe Helly put out some sweet, what is it? Forgive me. He had a Visual Studio, getting started with Visual Studio Code. And other great stuff in malware analysis for the hackalongs, NetExec for some of my old vintage work. But what I would like to spread some love for is, first of all, the Cyber Monday deal. Now, look, I have a certain visceral, like, hang on, coupon codes, discount codes, they always feel like a, I don't know. I know I am a person of the internet and I see it out and about, but I am acknowledging and understanding that, hey, that can really help get the word of mouth and awareness and messaging out. So as cheesy it is to say, oh, use my discount code, for real, genuinely, I hope that can help offer, hey, a little bit more accessibility to you and still provide some sweet value. So the Cyber Monday deal is coupon code, discount code, CM 2024. And that's 20% off all of the material that actually has a price tag to it. And unfortunately, we do have to have a price tag so I can pay the incredible people that are helping build this thing. And we're growing and adding to that cadre cohort lineup of all-stars. But something that I absolutely want to celebrate today is one of the courses that is coming together and available now by Ellie Daw. And she is an angel, if I may say. She's put together this super sweet course, Ease Me into Cryptography. And I have to note that I am not super duper smart on cryptography. Maybe if you've seen some of my old Capture the Flag challenges, some CTF videos, it's been like, oh, I can do a cutesy RSA, classic vanilla P and Q factors, find the totient, and then decrypt the E val. No, that's a public key. Whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? Sort of, kind of. I don't know all the ins and outs. I've got a couple of the training wheels on, but I am super duper stoked for Ellie to showcase some of her magic tricks, some sweet stuff that we could pull off with cryptography, with crypto. I feel so odd saying crypto because I know that might have different connotations. And I'm waiting for Ellie's hot take on that whole conversation. But please, 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 folks that are hanging out with us, if you'd be willing, hit me with your questions. Hit me with, hey, some of the insight. Hey, hit me with stuff that you would like to hear. We'll do some AMA just as well, probably after the fact when hey, we'll dig into some fun stuff, fireworks and show and tell to start with. But we'll do our best to collect some of those questions and would love to hear from you. What is stuff that you want answered? With that, let me see if I can tone down the music. I'm going to hide chat for the moment, and I will start to bring in Ellie. Hey, Ellie, backstage, if you're ready and all good for it, I guess we can start the party. Excellent. Come on in, my friend. How's it going, Ellie?
Oh, it's going great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for being willing to do this. I think I've said that over and over and over again, but it's still never enough. I'm grateful for all your support, everything you've done, and being willing to do this silly dog and pony show with me.
It's not a silly dog and pony show. Thank you for having me. I love this crew. I love just sharing knowledge with everybody. So happy to do it.
Can I ask if you, I don't know, would be willing to maybe color the picture on really, hey, who you are, what you're up to, what you're doing these days? I know a little bit of background context, but for the folks tuning in that just want to get to know Ellie Daw, what are you all about? What have you been doing?
Yeah, maybe I can start. You asked if I had any hot takes on the said saying crypto. OG phone case crypto means cryptography. Humans. My background is software engineering by trade, but I've always loved the theory side of crypto. So I've worked in applied cryptography teams, research teams, consulting, kind of been all over the map, venture-backed startups. But now I'm out on my own. I do a lot of partnering with non-technical founders, just kind of filling the need of like non-technical folks that have a really big problem they want to solve. They want tech to not feel scary and they want to be able to trust it, right? Like that's what I love. Let's build something that's kind of trusted from the start that actually solves all the problems that they want it to solve. So I do a lot of system architecture these days, and really just partnering with founders. So that's what I'm up to.
Heck yeah. And I do absolutely want to sing your praises. That venture, hey, great work from yours, is called Unstuck. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's my whole thesis is trying to make people feel less stuck. I think that's part of the thesis with the crypto course too, right? Like just making it feel a little bit less scary. It doesn't have to be scary, but getting those foundations in place.
Yeah. Unstuck.llc. Hey, if you do want to maybe chat a little bit more with Ellie. But look, can I maybe inquire on that whole world of cryptography? It's looked like, hey, you've got that sweet specialty. And I know that mantra, your real ethos there is, hey, making this a little bit more accessible. And literally the title, Ease Me into Cryptography, because it is a little bit intimidating. I was saying, look, I don't know AES, I don't know ECDSA. I think we'll probably have
Yeah,
the quantum conversation pop up in chat sooner
yeah,
rather
that's
than
a fun
later.
one. Yeah, I think the best news in the crypto space is that like a lot of this we actually don't have to worry about, right? Like we need to understand the basics. I think that's huge and understand what tools we need to use at what times. But the mathematicians have it figured out, right? Like we have, it's really important in the crypto world that we have these algorithms and software that's written and vetted and like we can trust it. We don't want to roll our own crypto. We just need to know what tools to pull from, and then we can kind of grab them, pull them in when we need to. But yeah, crypto at its heart is kind of the art of making sure that data is kept private. There are a bunch of different tools in the tool belt to help us do that, and I can kind of maybe tease a few of those while we're on the live stream. Yeah, there's a ton.
Yeah. Do you think, hey, we can dive into show and tell right now, or should we keep kind of bantering? I don't know. We have Dawn in our ear. I see him kind of, hey, noting in chat. Some really cool stuff, maybe just to kind of get the ball rolling. There was one question that
Yeah,
we did see fly by, and I don't know if this is a curveball, so please let me know. But
yeah.
one that came through, hey, how can organizations secure data during the shift from classical to the quantum resistant encryption, considering the store now, decrypt later threats?
Yes.
Help
Okay.
me out there.
This is a wonderful question, and I think we'll touch on some of those like keywords as we go through. And that's one of the things that we talk about in the course a little bit too. So I mentioned just a second ago, one of the really important things in crypto is don't roll your own crypto. So we take a step back from that. It's like, okay, if we don't roll our own crypto, like who is rolling the crypto, right? Like someone has to be doing that. NIST in the United States is the organization that runs these like challenges, kind of. It's like a contest basically that says we need cryptography algorithms that do XYZ thing. And then cryptographers from all over will sort of submit their algorithms. They'll get open sourced, everyone will try to break them. And the ones that make it through will get implemented and picked up by maintainers of libraries like OpenSSL, and then you can start to roll them out. So why did I start there? The question, what this is getting at, so quantum computers are really good at a couple of things that classical computers are not. One of those things is factoring large numbers. This is important because asymmetric crypto relies on the fact that it's really hard to factor really big numbers, right? So we need to find these prime factors. That's how RSA works. If quantum computers can do that, then even things that are securely encrypted with RSA keys today, for example, could be decrypted kind of trivially if we use the quantum algorithms. Okay, two pieces of good news though. One, a lot of the communications libraries that implement TLS actually have quantum safe crypto algorithms implemented today. So a lot of times this is a matter of like configuration for organizations to make sure in TLS, for example, you can set it so that it only accepts, it will like not use certain algorithms if you don't want them to. That's fine. But the short answer is we have quantum resistant crypto that's actually out there and implemented in software libraries already. So you can make sure that those are the ones that are configured in your organization. Part two of my answer is we don't have to be super scared yet. We're like not actually that close to having quantum computers big enough to like materially factor strong crypto, like strong encryption. So don't be too worried, but also configure things to be using the quantum resistant crypto.
Well, thank you for diving right into the deep end with me, right at the very, very start. We wanted to get the easy softballs out of the way.
Yeah. Maybe we can do a couple of the some of the like basics and primitives just to like tease what we cover in the ease me into crypto. And then we can jump back into Q&A. I mean, I'm happy to talk more about quantum or whatever is on everyone's mind.
Cool. Let's do it if you're willing.
Okay.
I don't know if you've got
Yeah,
a screen
yeah.
share. Hey, we can keep it going. But with that, I think we'll
Let's do
keep
it.
collecting some questions in the chat, but I'll give you whatever air coverage you need to, hey, get screen share going again.
Okay, perfect. So I've got a couple of, I think, hopefully fun examples. So the first one, so this, like my whole thesis is sort of starting with, let's understand these crypto primitives and then why they're important. We don't necessarily need to understand them for the purpose of like writing our own, but we do want to understand them so that if we're interested in protocol design or like system architecture or PKI, right? Like you need to know what tools to grab where. Or if you're on the offensive side, like if you see an algorithm, you'll be able to know like, oh, okay, the system is doing this at this time, or, oh, I know that's a deprecated algorithm. So this is why understanding the basics is important. One of the super basic primitives in crypto are hashes. So you probably have come across these already. One of my favorite ways to showcase this, OS Boxes is a website where you can download virtual images. So there's nothing secret sauce about this, but I think it's a good applied example of where you might come across hashes that are useful in real life. So they're in a lot of other places too, but this one I think is easy to see. So if we go to OS Boxes, let's say we wanted to, they have a lot of pop-up ads. It's okay. When we come to download a Debian image, you'll see right below it, it says SHA-256, and then it has this long string. So this is actually the hash of the image file that you would download. In this scenario, another word for this is a checksum. So you might hear it called hash or a checksum, but the hash as a crypto primitive is basically a one-way function. So this means that whatever data you kind of shove through the front end, the front of this algorithm, you actually can't pull back. So if you encrypt it, there's no way to decrypt it, right? Like it's only one direction. This is actually really, really useful in cases like checking file integrity. So when you go to OS boxes, you'll see the SHA-256 checksum of the image. The purpose is for you to download this image and then run the SHA-256 on the file that you downloaded and see if it matches the one that they posted here. The idea being, if it doesn't match, maybe the file got corrupted, maybe it was replaced with a malicious file. That's not what we want either. So it helps you check to make sure that the data has not been corrupted. So I can show you, let me switch over to my Visual Studio. And this is a good example here. I'll make this big. How's that for size? Good?
Looks good to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I know size is like misleading, I think, when you're screen sharing, but okay. So this is just a Jupyter notebook. It's easy to do examples for crypto in the Jupyter notebooks because it's kind of, you can do it like chunk wise. So what we'll do here, we imported hashlib. So upvote to not rolling our own crypto, right? We're not going to try to write this ourselves. And then this is just a function that calculates the SHA-256. So the file path to this virtual machine image that I downloaded, this is just the file name. So I'll set that. You can do this, by the way, there are built-in command line tools. I think it's nice just scrolling through the notebook, but okay. So what we're doing in this line is calling this calculate SHA-256 on the file path. So this is just the virtual machine image that we already downloaded. And then this calculate SHA-256, I kind of breezed over it earlier, but all we're doing is actually running a hash or checksum hex digest, it's called in this library. I apologize, that's a lot of the same, but they're all meaning the same thing. It's just kind of running this digest, this checksum, this hash, all mean the same thing on the data that we give it. So if we run this, okay, it says this is the SHA-256 hash. So we can tell, I won't switch over. If you remember, the first few characters of the hash on the web page that I just shared were not AA4, but that's actually expected because it's not, I didn't download the Debian image. So that's good, right? Like we don't actually want my my hash to match the Debian image. Okay, but the other thing that's pretty cool about hashes, the reason we can trust them for file integrity at this level is even the tiniest changes mean we're going to get a really different output. So in this cell of the Jupyter notebook, what we're going to do, this is just kind of Python jargon for onto this file, we're going to write some random text to the end of it. So all this is doing is literally like appending a string to the end of the file. So when we calculate the hash on the file now, we expect it to be different because we've now like appended more data to the end of it. Does that make sense? So small changes will result in big changes in output. And we can see these look really different, right? We don't have to read all of the characters, but we see these are not the same. So that's good. We expected the hash to be different. And then I'll just prove to, I'm just gonna take off. So this string that I added to it before, I'm literally just gonna remove that many bytes from the end of the file. So we're gonna put it back to its original file contents and then run the hash again. And we should see, let me make this a tiny bit smaller just so we can get 3 cells in there. Can I? Not quite, but AA48A, AA48A, and we can see the end 85442, 85442. So that's a pretty cool property of hashes. Small like perturbations in data cause big changes in output, which means we can use them for integrity checks. I think one of the more fun one of the interesting things about hashes, since we downloaded an entire VM image, right? The 64-bit is a VM image. The hash that we output is 32 bytes long. So this obviously is much smaller than the file size of the image. So if you think about this, that means that there has to be multiple things that actually give the same hash output, right? Because our input size is basically infinite. You could pass anything to a hash function, but the output size will always be a fixed length. So more things from the input side have to map to the same thing on the output side. But what this means is we can actually find what's called collisions with hash functions. So I know I've seen a couple of folks in the chat kind of passing by saying MD5 and SHA-1 are broken. And what that means in the context of hashes and cryptography is that it's non-trivial to find collisions in these hash functions. So let me share my terminal. And if we think about like, oh yeah, go ahead, John.
No, I'm glad you're digging into these because the collisions are the ones that like, oh, that's the fun conversation in my mind. Would love to
Yes,
banter about
agree.
MD5. I know the SHA-256 question has come up already, and then we'll keep it cruising.
Yep. Yeah, the collisions are the fun part for sure. And I think like, I don't know, this is another one of those things that feels jargony. But if you think about it, like we should care a lot about collisions because if the whole purpose is to check integrity, like why do we check integrity? We check integrity because we don't want some malicious actor to be able to like trick us, right? And if you can find a collision, then now you can trick someone because they can be expecting, oh, like the thing I'm expecting has this output. So since this has the same output, I know it's the thing I'm expecting. But if there are two things that map to the same output, you don't have that promise anymore. And if you can take it one step further and engineer the second thing that leads to that same output, like now it makes it really easy for the attackers to kind of put together some scheme, right? Um, yeah. Okay. So there's a cool Python script called MD5 collisions, which I can maybe send the link.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's on GitHub. It's open source. Maybe.
Gotcha.
Okay. It uses Python 2, so you'll have to set up a virtual environment.
Oh no.
You'll see I've got mine. I know.
Ellie, I'm sorry. We can't continue. The show is over. I'm teasing.
You'll have to set up your virtual environment. I know. It's tough.
I'll slap it into Chat GPT and convert it to Python 3. I'm teasing.
That actually is smart. Yeah. I wonder we can probably get that repo updated.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's I think it's really fun though because it's a really easy like you basically can just run the script and tell it well, let's just do it. So I have this example kind of seated for us. Let me make this a tiny bit wider so we can see it all in one line. Okay, so yes, Python 2.7, small tears, but it's okay. This is a
we cringe, but we allow.
Yeah, we cringe, but also appreciative because this is a cool Python script. So the script is called MD5 collisions.py. This -s flag 10, we're telling it we want to look for strings that are 10 bytes long. -t is the hash size output that we're looking for. So MD5 gives, I actually think MD5 gives 20, but I ran this with 16 earlier and it worked. So we're going to stick with that. R is actually the max RAM that you're going to give to this. So this is another, like, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole right this second, but breaking crypto is pretty computationally expensive. That's why the quantum computer conversation is interesting too, which we can come back to. But okay, and then the -c is just like we're telling it how many collisions we want it to find before it stops. So we'll just do 3.
What is
Yeah.
it using as a base hash, or is it just kind of choosing anything?
Well, so it's literally iterating through just looking for strings that have the same hash output. So it's not even
Interesting.
there's no starting point on this one. It's at 0. Last time I ran this, it took about 30 seconds before it found one. Um, and it would go faster, if I asked for a string that was a little bit shorter, that would be faster. Oh, I found one.
Nice. This feels like
It
John
does.
Conway's Game of Life. We're like, oh, there's a glider. I see. Fish tank that we get excited about. Heck yeah.
Yeah. The other interesting thing though, hashes are super computationally fast, so it's pretty easy to brute force. Well, I say easy, like it's still expensive, right? But the operations are a lot faster than like, I don't know, key generation, for example. So you can do a lot of these like I think what you were getting at just a second ago is
Hmm.
if we gave it like we want it to match this specific hash, that would take a lot longer, but like hashes are still pretty fast to run compared to some other um, algorithms. Yeah, so this is what it found for us. These different strings each have the same MD5 output. So that's kind of a fun one to play with.
I
They're
love it.
different.
Empty string matches empty string. I dig it.
I nailed it.
But no, that's super
Yeah.
cool. I love like illustrating just the concept even because yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like the data, no matter what it is, like you can hash and run whatever algorithm computational thing to determine an MD5 hash or a SHA-1 hash or a SHA-256 hash, and that'll spit out
Yeah.
all the hexadecimal values and whatever length, 32, 40, 64, depending on when you choose. But the data you give it could be a number, could be a string, could be printable characters, could be non-printable characters even. But it's
Mhm.
very cool to see, hey, even just the random letters in the alphabet, you can get them to both output the exact same hash, even if the original, like not to say seed, but original value
Yep.
is completely different. Um,
Yeah.
for and I'm sorry, don't please don't hesitate to cut me off if I'm rambling. I think it's kind of fun when you get to see these in weird use cases, like especially when it comes to hey cracking passwords in like
Hmm.
a penetration test or ethical hacking, maybe even bug bounty representation, or hey, you're beating up
Yeah.
a website and hey, you're doing some SQL injection, and you know what, you're going to be leaking what isn't really a password string anymore, but a computed password hash. You need to go crack that
Yep.
hash and determine what value came from it. One of my favorite ones, and forgive me, I might be getting way too nerdy. Um, Old school PHP, like I think PHP version 5. I don't know if we're up to like 8 or 9 now, right? But when you had
Mm.
what was genuinely literally a hash of uh, uh, numeric values, but because it's hexadecimal, you could, in some oddball, strange scenario, have a hash that starts with the character 0 and the letter E, which PHP is going to think is like scientific notation.
Oh my gosh.
So you've got some silly magic hashes where you could just slap in whatever other value you wanted to, if it's a what other number, and you can check and compute and calculate if those hashes are equal. Well, at the end of the day, the numbers, yeah, sure, doesn't matter. You can bypass that. So, forgive me,
Yeah.
I didn't want to ramble for too long, but you got me excited here.
No. Yeah, I love that. I know it's fun. There are so many good stories, I think. And I think if anyone's interested too, the article on the SHA-1 like breaking is really interesting. I think it's
Yeah,
shattered.io is the
yeah.
URL, but they have a really nice write-up on it. They were basically able to craft two PDFs that had the same SHA-1 uh, like checksum. So it's a pretty interesting article. But TLDR, don't use MD5 or SHA-1. And if you see them as an offensive person, be excited.
Cool. I
Yeah,
tried to share that link
shattered.io.
for shatter.io.
Yeah,
There was a, I keep harkening back to CTF days, but there was a old, I think like B-sides San Francisco or B-sides
mm,
Tampa. One of the CTFs was, hey, pulling out out of even Wireshark TCP packets that would end up having a SHA-1 collision, or you just have to try and
Mhm.
recreate even this solution where, oh, you found two different PDFs that would somehow, some way still get the same hash. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Forgive me.
No, you don't even have to ask for forgiveness. Yeah, I think it's cool too. It's a lot of fun stuff.
Is hey, that showcase, kind of just what you put together here, is that in the Ease Me into Cryptography little course over on Just Hacking
Yeah.
Training? Is that part one, part two, part seven? Where is it?
It's in part one. It's in part one. Great news. Um, yeah, so this course is very focused on some of the crypto primitives. So, like I mentioned, there's a lot of interesting kind of advanced crypto techniques if you're interested in like privacy preserving machine learning or protocol design or any of those more advanced quantum resistant crypto. That's another one. There are a lot of advanced topics, but they sort of rely on like the people doing them knowing the primitives first. So this Ease Me into Cryptography is very focused on the primitives, just giving you that foundational knowledge to kind of be able to do what you need to do. But yeah, hashes are in the first section. Then we do symmetric crypto, asymmetric crypto. In the wrap up, there's the opportunity to build something that uses all three of those together. And then each section talks about what the thing is, how you can use it, what it's good for, and what it's not good for. So that, when you're coming across these things in real life, you kind of understand the context.
One of my favorite things is like you were just showcasing some of the Jupyter notebooks. And I don't know if
Mhm.
we added enough background context on those, but it's like a live and dynamic and like easily like you press the button to play it and run and execute some code, but then you can edit it and modify it and change and tweak and tamper with code and syntax all in line. So Jupyter
Yeah.
notebooks, for one thing, are awesome as a sweet recipe to, hey, plug and play data as needed. And I think one of the most just cool things about your Ease Me into Crypto course is that, look, we've got Jupyter notebooks embedded in the material. Like you can play with it, run it, and you learn a little bit of Python alongside learning a little bit of crypto. So if it's a whole new world for you, anyone tuning in, and you just kind of want to get a little bit more of the syntax down, that is a great jumping off point, I think. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jupyter Notebooks gained a lot of popularity in the data science world because they don't, like, if you're writing Python scripts as an engineer or Python classes or whatever, all of the code kind of has to run, right? But Jupyter Notebooks gives like a stateful way of it almost gives like the experience of a debugger from a software engineering perspective, where like it can kind of tell you exactly what all the variables are at right now and just keep track of things. You can, grab different blocks and rerun them. I think it's good to get your hands in there a little bit.
what are some of the other algorithm aspects that maybe you dive into? Do we get into any DES, old school? Or I know you mentioned, hey, maybe some of the asymmetric or symmetric ones, AES in the mix, etc. Do you touch any ECDSA?
Yeah.
All I know is the acronyms. I'm like, oh, that one, that thing.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about like I think I linked to one of the interesting articles about sort of the lineage of like DES, and when you see it in real life, you will see triple DES, three DES, which actually
Yeah.
is okay to use. But it tells the whole story of like why that happened and why that still works. A lot of the hands-on exercises for symmetric are AES, just since that's widely used today. We dig into RSA a lot. We don't touch too much on elliptic curves, although those are really fun. I can show. Um,
Yeah, if you've got any more bag of tricks, I mean, I'm along for the ride.
I like we talk a lot about the primitives and kind of the theory in the course, but I think it's good just to show where this stuff shows up in real life
Oh,
too.
totally.
Um, so if we come back, this is just the same tab I had been sharing before. Um, and actually, I wonder if it might be easier in here we go. Okay, so in any browser, you'll be able to look at the certificate. Oh no, does the pop-up not show on the screen share?
Oh, if you have chosen just a window, it might not. I'm sorry.
Aha.
Hmm.
Wait, let me try.
We do it
On.
live. We
Yeah,
do it live.
I didn't realize that the little certificate box did not show up. That's okay. Let's see if we can get it on Safari. Okay, y'all will have to tell me if it's giving us ads. It's not good. Okay, I think it is showing now. Yeah, okay, cool. That's fine. We'll just use Safari. Okay, so yes, one of the places that asymmetric crypto is used in real life, in browser connections, the protocol that underlies a lot of the HTTPS is called TLS. So TLS is an example of one of these protocols that uses asymmetric crypto to sort of share a symmetric key, and then it switches over to symmetric crypto. That's for performance reasons. So we talk about that in the course as well. Also, another example of just like, if you understand what the primitives are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, you can put together these more complex systems that are like performant and still meet your security guarantees. Okay, so all of the sites that have HTTPS have a certificate. You can click into the certificate. So if we click trust here, this is just telling us it's using SSL, which is good and what we expect. But if you come into the details, we can actually see a little bit more about the certificate itself. So there's a lot in here. I'm just going to skip all the way down to public key info. So the main, I wonder if that little pop-up can be bigger. Can it? I don't know if I can zoom in on the pop-up. It doesn't look like it. Sorry, guys. It's going to be a little small. Okay, so the difference between symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric crypto uses the same key for both encryption and decryption. It's really fast, but the downside, it's like pretty hard to manage keys and share them securely, right? So asymmetric is a cool like mathematical trick where a different key can actually be used to encrypt and decrypt, which means that you don't ever have to like package up a key really securely and paper plane it over to your friend and hope that they get it. We can actually just publish one piece of the key, which is called the public key, and use the private key for decryption, basically. So someone in the public can encrypt some message with the public key, send it to the person who owns the private key, and that person can decrypt it. So the public key is embedded in these web certificates, and we can see that this one is an RSA public key. So RSA, we talk about this a little bit more in detail too. It's actually not that crazy complicated. Like it's math equations, but they're not that crazy complicated. They have
the modular inverse always gets me though. Sorry.
Well, and the like totient.
Yeah.
A complex word. I'm always like, what? All you have to know though is like we're looking for prime numbers. They have to have some relationship so that when we do a math equation with one of them, the other one can undo it. So that's why like the software libraries are built around this, right? Like they go do all of that math for us. But the pieces that are in the public key are the modulus and then the public exponent. And then the private key is the same modulus and the private exponent. So if you look at the certificate on any website that has the little lock icon and does HTTPS, you can actually see the entire public key here. This is just bytes. So they're little like hex bytes. That's the whole key though. So it's not very long. We can see the exponent here is 65537. That's actually pretty standard. I don't know, used a lot in RSA. And then we can see that this key can actually be used to encrypt, verify, wrap, and derive. So if we want to jump back into the quantum piece, this might be a good segue.
Yeah. Hey, we're running out. Maybe it would be cool to chat a little bit more and maybe discuss some more of those other thought-provoking conversations or other questions that maybe anyone in the chat might have. Um, Before we do that, may I ask for your permission to tease and preview just that capstone project overview? Because I'm looking
Yeah.
at it now, and my goodness, it is so cool.
I think it's really fun. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So here, I'll try to do my best if I can. Does this share A-okay? Nope, maybe the wrong one. Doing it live. Forgive me. We like to make sure that this is as real as it gets, despite how scuffed things might be. So, hey, I wanted to pull a little bit behind the curtain because I do want to give Ellie huge kudos, props. Thank you for, again, doing this and putting together this material. And I love it. And especially kind of seeing that culminating capstone project where you get to write some code, get real hands-on with all the stuff that you've learned about the different either encryption algorithms, asymmetric, symmetric, hashing stuff in between, where you can kind of at least, hey, now use even the Python code that you have learned through whether it's the hashlib module, whether it's I think there was OG PyCrypto or PyCryptography. I think PyCryptodome is now the most current one. Is that right, Ellie?
Yep.
But it's like, oh, sweet. You genuinely really get to like, hey, build out a whole application for messaging back and forth and almost create this secure encrypted communication platform, which is probably a pretty timely and topical conversation. I don't know. But I just think, wow, hey, this is legit Python code you get to write and understanding and applying all of the sweet cryptography lessons that you've learned. But huge thanks. I just think it's cool. I wanted to sing your praises and especially show the love for that. If anyone's like, oh, hey, that's a cool project. Hey, dive in.
I think it's fun. Yeah. It also, yeah, timely with the news lately. But I think the goal really is to understand the primitives enough to be able to choose which ones to apply for, the different functionality things that you want to build into there. So hopefully it's good.
Cool. Well, hey, I guess we're getting to almost the last 10 minutes of the hour, and I absolutely want to be cognizant of your time. Ellie, do you have to run? Do you have to dash? Are you out and about
I'm
right now?
good. Yeah,
Cool.
we can find a couple more questions.
Well, I don't know if there were any that stuck out to you, but obviously, I think the one that everyone's kind of raising their hand on is Google's Willow announcement. Have you been tracking this
Yes.
thing?
I'm tracking. Yes. Yes. Okay. So where to start? Maybe I'll do like a super quick, just like what is a qubit, because that will be relevant to like what is Willow and do like how worried do we need to be?
So this is a quantum conversation, to be clear, right? We're entering the quantum realm. Is that
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
we've crossed over. No longer classical. Okay, so normal computers, the bits inside your computer can be in one of two states, 0 and 1, right? Those are called classical bits. Binary, 0, 1, that's it. There's no in between. Qubits, which is just quantum bit, you can think about them like, I like to think about them like a sphere.
Mm.
And the like state of the sphere is like, if you imagine you have a sphere and there's a dot on the sphere, it can be like anywhere on the sphere, right?
I always thought arrows like up, down, left, and right, but you can get even more dimensions there. It's cool.
So this is a quantum state. It can be things that are not 0 and 1. It can be kind of anything between 0 and 1. That's not like the technical terminology, that I'm like simplifying a little bit. But the idea, this is called a superposition, when the state is just like anything that's not, we don't really know what it is, but it can be anything in that sphere. When we get multiple of those bits together, we can entangle them. And this is where they get really powerful, because together they can like compute things or solve different problems that classical computers cannot solve. The other important thing to know about qubits is that once they are observed, they collapse to 0 or 1. This is why I like thinking about them on a sphere, because if you imagine like the state is over here, then maybe when you collapse it, that will collapse to a 1 because it's like closer to this pole of the sphere, right? Like think like North Pole, South Pole as 0 and 1. And if you look at it, then it's like, zoop, I'm closer to the North Pole. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe button.
Okay, yeah, you just gotta put some belief in there. Okay, so that is what a qubit is, in theory. So in practice, there are a few different ways to build these qubits. Google builds with superconducting qubits. Um, Let me double check if I got that right. Yeah, so superconducting qubits. So superconducting qubits are really hard to build because they have to be cold. So you probably have seen these quantum computers and giant refrigerators. They're also hard to keep stable. So the other thing you probably have been reading a little bit about in this Google quantum news is the difference between a physical qubit and a logical qubit. So the thing I just described in theory is a logical qubit, right? Like we kind of know that it can be in a superposition state and it will collapse to 0 or 1. It can like maybe do some certain computations. A physical qubit has a lot of error related to it. So if you just implement that as like I don't know, let's say like we're doing the trapped ion method, which is one of the other methods of building physical qubits that uses magnets. You don't need to worry about it. But if you build one qubit, there's a lot of error. It's hard to keep it stable. It's hard to keep it. What they mean by stable is like in that superposition state without being collapsed to 0 or 1. So the Willow chip is 105 physical qubits mapping to, I believe, just one logical qubit. Why do they have to do this? It's so hard to keep these stable to actually use them in computations, right? So we need 105 of them on a single chip to get the power of one of them in a computation. So this is kind of the difference between physical and logical. The Willow chip, the cool news that Google announced is that they actually were able to show that they can add more qubits without like linearly increasing the error. So this means that they can start to build toward those bigger quantum computers that we want and that we need without getting like exponential error, which is actually really cool. So still incredibly cool news, but also we're not breaking RSA with the Willow chip, right? Like we're still okay. But maybe I'll pause there.
I mean, I'm glad to hear it. I don't know. I I'm not a believer yet, but I guess I don't know enough to have any actual certainty in one direction or another. But I'm glad to hear from you. Not yet. So
Not yet, not yet. The engineers like the Willow news is really interesting. It means that we can build in that direction, but we're not there yet. But still, switch to quantum safe algorithms if you have them.
that is cool. I did not
Yeah.
know about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think this would be a fun one and probably tie back to a lot of your core thesis, pulling us out of the quantum realm, getting us back to classical, crypto that we know and love. Someone had asked, I use OpenSSL. Is that
Yeah.
bad?
No.
Yeah,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
No, of course. You got it.
No. No. The crypto world, to be honest, I think the whole security world is really good about being supportive of open source projects. But cryptography in particular, like we actually want algorithms that are out in public. We want cryptographers and mathematicians and everyone looking at these. We want engineers looking at the implementations of them. Like we want people trying to break them because if they're broken, we want to know so we can go fix them, right? OpenSSL is one of the like best known open source libraries. I've actually worked on a fork of OpenSSL before. Very, very familiar with OpenSSL.
That is
Um,
awesome.
they do great work. They do great work, and it's yeah, like TLDR. No, definitely not bad to be using OpenSSL. Make sure that you have your flags set. You can actually set the flags to like if you need FIPS compliance in your use case or whatever. But that would be those flags would be where you would configure which algorithms you want to kind of turn off, which would be things like MD5, as we know, some of the insecure ones you'd want to turn off. But no, OpenSSL is great. Definitely not bad to be using it.
Now, I see a little bit of chatter in the chat looking a little bit more closely at your background. And I don't know if I'm intruding,
Oh,
but I would
no.
love to ask, are those plaques for US patents is what I hear? I don't know, but
They are. Yes, they are.
it's amazing.
I've had the opportunity to work with some really, really sharp folks on some really cool projects. Um, so I think one of them was from a project when I worked at Cisco. So we were working on I think this one was related to one of the features that they released probably in 2018 maybe, where they were one of the first to market, I think, with features that helped to give some sort of intelligence on encrypted data. So they did a lot on like analysis on metadata of encrypted traffic. But the work that I did was sort of auditing some of the crypto algorithms. We did some work on just like I don't know, aggregate things that you could learn about networks based on the algorithms that you see in them in the network traffic. And then a couple of them came from another project where we worked on I was working in a research lab at the time, an industry research lab, and we were working on near-term applications of quantum computers in the security space. So we kind of had the good fortune to be able to brainstorm some quantum security applications. A lot of this was theoretical. We built some kind of proof of concepts and wrote up some papers, but yeah, very topical, but some really cool teams.
I think it's phenomenal. And hey, those are some accolades, if I may say. Huge kudos. Congratulations. Hell yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I on the topic of the OpenSSL realm, I think of PGP and GPG. I get those confused in my mind, but I know even the silly
Same.
dark web realm, everyone say, "Hey, where's your PGP key? Give me the public key." You know, and that's almost the
Yeah.
norm. Making sure you've got everything signed with your public key. Like
Yeah.
absolutely, to be a part of these communities, you must. Could you? Are you,
Yeah.
if you're able to, maybe discuss and tell me about that?
Yeah, I can maybe talk at like the conceptual level and also just say there are quantum safe signature algorithms out there too. So, but a lot of the times the reason that this is a thing in yeah, you say kind of like dark web space, but like I don't know, cybersecurity folks, anyone with a handle, right? Um, it's always about trying to kind of prove who you are, right? And so this comes back to the idea of public private keys. And if I on my own computer generate a key pair, I can publish the public key out and keep the private key secret to me. And then every message that I send, I will sign it with my private key. Digital signatures, I like that's another one that kind of builds using some primitives, but the idea is that you hash the message that you're sending, so you have some integrity built in, and then you encrypt it with your private key. So the idea is now that can be decrypted by the person who has your public key, and then they can check the hash. So now they know both that you, the person with the private key, were the one that sent it, and that the message did not get corrupted or intercepted in some way. Like the integrity is there too. So you have sort of that proof of I am the one that owns this key and I sent this message, and hopefully the message got there safe and sound.
Cool. Thank you. I
Yeah.
that's another one. I know the acronym. I gotta ask.
I mean, we see this stuff everywhere, and I think we don't realize all
Yeah.
the time what actually is like beneath it,
Well, hey, I know we are at the top of the hour, so we're probably going to be winding down. But I can't say thank you enough for doing this, Ellie. but
Thank
I
you for
am
having me.
super duper curious. I know everything that we kind of walked through in the Ease Me into Cryptography course and the lessons and learning in there is, hey, the tip of the iceberg, right? That's the fundamentals, that's the basics, those are the training wheels to help everyone get started.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not everyone's cup of tea, and they're hungry for that intermediate to advance to those hardcore in depth concepts. Are you I don't know. Are there any teasers that you might be cooking up more, or are you, hey, cashing in and bouncing out of here?
I will safely tease that there will be more to come. I think, like a lot of the people on this live stream, I'm really interested in the applications. And when you move to those applications, you just by nature have to, you know, move into those a little bit more complex systems, complex use cases, complex primitives, even. So definitely more to come. That stuff I love digging into too, and happy to share and connect with other folks who find that interesting too.
Well, I am so excited for it because I just absolutely love the approach of digging into it with Python, because that's just the way to like play with it, to literally tangibly like, oh, I see what each part of the math equation has to be because I've got the variable defined here, and I can tinker and tune and do whatever with whatever tidbit of the implementation. So I just think I'm stoked for, hey, maybe anything else you got cooking up. And thank you again. I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone else tuning in is just as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. This was really fun.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. I'll catch you later. We're just going to sign off the stream. I'm really bad at endings and outros. So, you know what? Let's just probably call it, and we'll see you on the rest of the internet.
See you on the other side.